3 quarks for Muster Mark. Sure, he hasn't got much of a bark, and sure any he has, it's all beside the mark. But oh, Wren Eagle Almighty, wouldn't un be a sky of a lark to see that old buzzard whooping around for un's shirt in the dark, and he hunting around for him speckled trousers around by Palmerston Park. Ho, 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 Moulty Mark, you're the rummest old rooster ever flopped out of a Noah's Ark, and you think you're cock of the work. Fowls up! Tristy's the spry young spark that'll tread her and wed her and bed her and redder without ever winking the tail of a feather. And that's how that chap's going to make his money and mark. Overhoved, shrilly screaming, that song sang sea swans, the winging ones, sea hawk, seagull, curlew and plover, kestrel and capercailzie. All the birds of the sea they trolled out right bold when they smacked the big cuss of Tristan with Isolde. And there they were, too, when it was dark, whilst the wildcaps was circling, as slow their ship, the winds aslight, upborne the fates the war-doors moved, by courtesy of Mr. Doe below down below Camper Sally, listening in as hard as they could, in Doubledorp the Donker, by the tourney old of the waterfalls, with their voixens, and they kemen in so hat-a-jockey, only a quarter-buck a skull for the last acts, to the solons and the sycamores and the wild geese and the gannets and the migratories and the missel thrushes and the auspices and all the birds of the rock-by sucker associational sea, all 4 of them, all sighing and sobbing and listening. Michael a-hoikling. They were the big 4, the 4 master waves of Erin, all listening 4. There was old Matt Gregory, and then besides old Matt there was old Marcus Lyons, the 4 waves. And oftentimes they used to be saying grace together right enough. Baus na baha in Miracle Square. Here now we are, the 4 of us, old Matt Gregory and old Marcus and old Luke Tarpey. The 4 of us, and sure thank God there are no more of us. And sure now you wouldn't go and forget and leave out the other fella and old Johnny McDougall. The 4 of us and no more of us. And so now pass the fish for Christ's sake, amen. The way they used to be saying their grace before fish, repeating itself after the interims of Augustburg for Old Lang Syne. And so there they were, with their palms in their hands, like the pulchrum's procals, spraying in their ears, listening and listening to the oceans of kissing, with their eyes glistening, all the 4, when he was kiddling and cuddling and bunny-hugging scrumptious as Colleen Bawn and Dinkum Bell, and Oscar sister, on the 15-inch love seat behind the chieftainess stewardess's cobbin. The hero of Gaelic champion, the onlyest one of her choice, her blue ideal of a girl's friend, neither big ugly nor small nice, meaning pretty much everything to her then, with his sinister dexterity, light and rough handling, vice and versum her ragbags and associatiums, fore and aft, on and off sides, the brew-burnt sex-footer, handsome and huntsome, that was palpably wrong and bulbably improper, and cuddling her and kissing her, tout-à-fait charmante in her ensemble of maid in a blue, with an overdress of net, tickled with goldies, Isola, Misola, and whisping and lisping her about trees o' Lanisans, how 1 was whips for 1 was 2, and 2 was lips for 1 was 3, and dissimulating himself, with his pogue like Aaron a pogue, the dear, dear annual. They all 4 remembered who made the world, and how they used to be, at that time in the vulgar ear, cuddling and kiddling her, after an oyster supper in Cullen's barn, from under her missel thrush, and kissing and listening, in the good old bygone days of Dion Boucicault the elder, in Aaron a Pogue, in the other world of the passing of the key of Two-Tongue Common, with Nush the carrier of the word, and with Mesh the cutter of the reed, in one of the far-back pitch-black centuries, when who made the world? When they knew O'Cleary, the man on the door, when they were all 4 collegians on the nod, near the Notherland's nursery, white boys and oak boys, peep of Tim boys and piping Tom boys, raising hell while the sin was shining with their slates and satchels, playing Florian's fables and communic suctions and Veliker frictions with mixum members in the Queen's Altonian colleges, along with another fella, a prime number, Tocius Quotius, and paying a pot of tribulus to Boris O'Brien, the butler of Clump Thump, 2 loaves, 2 turnovers, plus 1 crown, to see the mad Dane ate in his vitals. Wolf, wolf, and throwing his tongue in the snake pit. Ah ho! The ladies have mercy as it brought the dear prehistoric scenes all back again, as fresh as of yore. Matt and Marcus, natural-born lovers of nature in all her moves and senses. And after that, now there he was, that mouth of mandibles, vowed to pure beauty and his Aranapog, when she murmurously, after she let a cough, gave her firm order, if he wouldn't please mind, for as sings to one hope a dozen of the best favourite lyrical national blooms in love illicit, though not too much, reflecting on the situation, drinking in draughts of purest air serene, and revelling in the great outdoors, before the 4 of them, in the fair fine night whilst the stars shine bright, by she light of he moon, we longed to be spoon before her honey old loom. The plaint effect being, in point of fact, there being in the whole a situation so shocking and scandalous, and now, thank God, there were no more of them, and he poguing and poguing like the moriner, bowed his crusted head, and Tilly the tailor's tugged a tar in the Arctic News' Dag's Dog's number, and there they were, like a 4 masters in the rolls, listening to Rolando's deep and darblin' Ossian roll. Lady, it was just too gorgeous, that expense of a lovely tint, embellished by the charms of art, and very well conducted, and nicely mannered, and all the horrid rudy noisies locked up in nasty cubbyhole. As tired as they were, the 3 jolly topers, with their mouths watering, all the 4, the old connubial men of the sea, yambing around with their old pantometer in duckasalopics, Luke and Johnny McDougall, and all wishing for anything at all of the bygone times, the walled times and the fall times, and the hempty times and the dempty times, for a cup of kindness yet, for 4 far back tumblerfuls of woman squash. With them, all 4, listening and spraying in their ears for the millennium, and all their mouths making water. First she let her hair fall, and down it flussed to her feet its teviot's winding coils. Then, mother naked, she shampooed herself with gala water and frego and pistania mud, whopper and lower from crown to sole. Next, she greased the groove of her keel, warts and wears and mole and itcher, with anti-fouling butterscotch and turpentine and serpentine, and with leaf mould she ushered round prunella aisles and eslats done quince-cunked all over her little Mary. Peeled gold of waxwork her jelly belly, and her grains of incense anguille bronze. And after that she wove a garland for her hair. She pleated it, she plaited it, of meadow grass and river flags, the bulrush and waterweed, and of fallen griefs of weeping willow. Then she made her bracelets and her anklets and her armlets, and a jetty amulet for necklace of clicking cobbles and pattering pebbles and rumble-down rubble, Richmond and rare, of Irish rune or Reiner stones and shell marble bangles. That done, a dog of smut to her airy eye, and Nushka Lutetievich Pufflava, and the Lillipus cream to her lipolines, and the pick of the paint-box for her palmettes, from strawberry reds to extra violets, and she send-read her boudoir maids to his affluence Ciliegia Grande and Kirshi Real, the 2 Kirsines, with respects from his missus, Sepie and Suery, and a request might she pass of him for a minikin, a call to pay, and light a taper in Briona Rosa, back in a spritzling. The cock striking mine, the stall's bridely sign, there's Zambozzi waiting for me. She said she wouldn't be half her length away. Then, as soon as the lump his back was turned, with her mealy bag slang over her shoulder, Anna Livia, oyster face, forth of her basin came. Describe her! Hustle along, why can't you? Spits on the yarton while it's hot. I wouldn't miss her for earthing on earth, not for the lucre of Lombastrate. Oceans of God, I muzzle hear that. I'll go away presta, leste, before Julia Caesar, Issy carry and washermiscad, the carrishi carrot and manny. Ho, lady fair, duo decimaroon, Bonaventura, Malagasy. What had she on, the little old oddity? How much did she scallop harness and weights? Here she is, Amnesty Anne. Call her calamity electrifies man. No electress at all, but old mop of necessity, Angin mother of vengeance. I'll tell you a test, but you must sit still. Will you hold your peace and listen well to what I am going to say now? It might have been 10 or 20 to 1 of the night of all close, or the next of April, when the flip of her hoogly igloo flappered, and out toed Tippet, a bushman woman, the dearest little mamma ever you saw, nodding round her all smiles, with M's of embarrass and all's to awe, between two ages, a Judy queen, not up to your elb. Quick, look at her cute and says her quirk, for the bicker she lives, the slicker she grows. Save us and tag us, no more. Where in Ourth did you ever pick a lambay chop as big as a battering ram? Aye, you're right, I'm apt to forgetting, like Livia Little did love me long. The length of my huff, I say. She wore a ploughboy's nail-studded clogs, a pair of plough fields in themselves, a sugar-loaf hat with a gaudy quivery peak, and a band of gorse for an ornament, and 100 streamers dancing off it, and a gilded pin to pierce it. Owl glassy bicycles boggled her eyes, and a fishnet's veil for the sun, not to spoil the wrinklings of her hide aspects. Potato rings buckled the loose lobs of her laud snarers. Her nude Cuba stockings were salmon-spot speckled. She sported a galago shimmy of haze vapour tinto that never was fast till it ran in the washing. Stout stays, the rivals, lined her length. Her blood-orange buck knickers, a 2-in-1 garment, showed natural knickerbockers, fancy fastened, free to undo. Her black-striped tan Joseph was sequin sewn and teddy bear lined, with wavy rush-green epaulettes and a lead down here and there of royal swan's ruff. A brace of gaspers stuck in her hay-rope garters. Her civvy corduroy coat with alphabet buttons was boundaried round with a 2-bar tunnel belt. A 4-penny bit in each pocket side weighed her safe from the blow-away windrush. She had a clothes peg tight astride on her jokey's nose, and she kept on grinding as something quaint in her fumy mouth, and the wreck of the fluve of the tail of the gowan of her snuff-drab Sewler's skirt trailed 50-odd Irish miles behind her longer roads. Hell's bells, I'm sorry I missed her. Sweet gumtium, and nobody fainted. But in whelk of her mouths, was her naze alight? Everyone that saw her said the douse little Delia looked a bit queer. Lotsy trotsy, mind the puddle. Missus, be good and don't fall in the say. Fenny poor hex she must have charred. Kick'em's a frumpier you ever saw, making mush mullets eyes at her boys dobbling, and they crowned her their charitin queen, all the maids. Of the May, you don't say. Well, for her she couldn't see herself. I reckon it's war for the darling murried her mirror. She did. Mercy me. There was a chorus of druth-dropping surface men, boom-slanging and plug-chewing, fruit-eyeing and flower-feeding, in contemplation of the fluctuation and undification of her filamentation, low-linen leeson on North Laser's wall, all eel fair week, by the Duker yoiks. And as soon as they saw her meander by that maritime way, in her grass winter's weeds, and twigged who was under her archdeaconess' bonnet, Avondale's fish, and Clarence's poison, sedges and to a nebber, wit upon crutches to Master Bates. Between our two Southsates and the granite they're warming, or her face has been lifted, or Alp has doped. But what was the game in her mixed baggy ratty? Just the tembo in her tumbo, or pilly-pilly from her pepper pot. Sass and tass and specis pizzazz. And where in thunder did she plunder? For the battle or after the ball? I want to get it frisk from the source. I'll bet my beer it's worth while poaching on. Shake it up, do. That's a good old son of a ditch. I promise I'll make it worth your while, and I don't mean maybe, nor yet with a good for. Spey me proof, and I'll tell you true. Well, a rund ge rond in a waveny line, a ring a room as she pattered and swung and sidled, dribbling her boulder through narrow mosses, the dillisgoy drear on our drier side, and the wild vetch fine agin us, Carrara here, Carrero there, not knowing which medway or whether to strike it, I the rider, making Chattahoochee all to her ain choo-choo, like Santa Claus at the cree of the Pale and Puny, nistling to hear for their tiny hearties, her arms encircling Isola Bella, then running with reconciled Romus and Reams, on like a lech to be off like a dart, then bathing dirty hands as spatters with spittle, with their Christmas box apiece for each and every one of her childer. The birthday gifts they dreamt they gave her, the spoiled she fleetly laid at our door, on the mat, by the porch, and in under the cellar. The rivulets ran a flood to sea, the Glasher boys, the Polynooties, out of the pawn shop onto the pyre, and they all about her, juvenile leads and ingenuas, from the slime of their slums and artisan dwellings, rickets and riots, like the smiley boys at their vicereines levee. Vivi vien, little Anchen! Vielo Anna, high life! Sing us a sula, O Susaria! Aus on seduces! Hasn't she timbre? Chipping her, and raising a bit of a cheer or a jarry every dive she'd neb in her culdy sacco of Wabash. She rabbed and reached out her maundy meershandies, poor souvenir as per recorder, and all for sore a ringa rung, stinkers and healers, laggards and prime lads, her fours born sons and dribblederry daughters, 1,001 of them, and wicker pot luck for each of them, for evil and ever, and kicks the book. Home all go, hallom. Blare no more rams blares, oddman barks, and cease your fumings, kindled bushes, and sherry goldies yacing neighs. Your wild shaw show moves swiftly sternward, for here the holy language soon's to come to pass. 'Tis good, het best, for they are now tearing, that is, tear to return in. Too soon are coming tass books and goody hominy bread and Bible be, with jaggery yo to Jew jaw, finds French phrases from the Grande Mère des Grammaires, and buttered parsnaps from the four Massors, Matatias, Marusias, Lucanias, Jocinias. And what happened to our 11 in 32 antipost dating the vulgar era? And why is Limbo? Where is he? And what are the sound waves saying? Ceased ere they all weighed wrong, and amnest anguished axis colas, and where fish and gammon fetched the mongafish from, and what for Paddy Bird not please Rancoon, and why was Sindat sitting on him sit-bomb like a sailor, with what the dock did in the Doyle, not to mention to find the hydraulics of common salt, and its denier quid of old Provence, where GPO is zentrum, and DUTC are radiance, write down by the frequency of the scores and crores of your refractions the valuations in the price of dinghyings on NCR and SCR. That little cloud and Nibulissa still hangs Issy. Singabed sulks before slumber. Light at night has an Alps on in his druck house. Thick head and thin butter, or after you, with me. Caspi, but Guerraleague stings the air. Gay legs to riot of us, gallocks to laughed. What is a maid today to do? So angelant all weepy bin that Issy most unhappy is. Fain Issy fie unhappy? Laughs her Stella's Visperine. While, running about their ways, going and coming, now at rimba-romba, now in tripitza-trapitza, pleating a pattern grand matron showed them, of Grace Hoopers, Aunt Skippers, and Coney Farm lepers, they gerralead along, Durian Gay and Marion Maidcap, Lou Dariu beside La Mattietto, all boy, more all girl, sing out fella long a house blong store huddy, whilst nin, 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 That poor man's clock, a whinny on the tinny side, ninned nin, 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 about old Father Barley, how he got up of a morning early, and he met with a platinum blondes named Hips and Haws, and fell in with a fellows of Trinity, some header sco with shaws like. You'll catch it, don't fret, Mrs. Tommy Lupton. Come indoors, scoffy nosy, and shed your swank. Old Daddy Deacon, who could stow well his place of beacon, but he never could hold his kerosene's candle to. The nurse'll give it to you, sticky pots, and you wait my lasso feck in the twine. Bold Father Burley, who woke up in a hurly-whirly, where he huddly could wuddle to wallow his weg till bag of the baker's booth to beg of. You're well held now, Missy Cheek Spear, and your panto's off. Fie for shame, Ruth Wheatacre, after all the booze said. Ild did Diddy Aiken for the prize of a piece of bacon with a pinch of the punch in juries for. Ah, crab eyes, I have you, showing off to the world with that gape in your stocking. Wold Forester Farley, who, in desperation of the inspiration, at the deaspiration of his desperation, was found of the round of the sound of the lound of the Look-a-doer and do non duris skew di lushu fair my porter tu rizul sval nabortan sporta oken sacroid ver jacapacapok byfall o ploud the play thou showburkst game here endeth the curtain drops by deep request o plouder remain. Gone the gods, gunners, gust, spells. When the who the who, how the who, where the whoer. Orbiter answers. Lots lives lost. Fionia is fed up with fidge fudgesons. Sea land snores. Rending rocks, rogues reckoning rains. Goods with gurs are gutterdemrung. Hullsvilles. The timid hearts of words all exi-omniscient. Managad, Lamalula, how did that come? By dad, you'd not heed that fairt. Fulgitudes aced row down and ton out. Quack and bunkskly doodle, kadoosh! Of their fear they broke, they ate wind they fled, where they ate there they fled, of their fear they fled, they broke away. Go to, let us extol Azrael with our harks, by our brews on our jamses in his gates. To Methusalem with the Nephilim, did it stink unstud? Yip, yup, yarra, and let Neckalon extol Macmacal, and let him say unto him, Imi, Ami, Semi, and shall not Babel be with Labab? And he war, and he shall open his mouth and answer, I hear, O Ismael, how they laud is only as my loud is one. If Neckalon shall be heaven-falled, surely Macal haven heavens. Go to. Let us extell Macal, yea, let us exceedingly extell. Though you have lion among your pospots, my excellency is over Ismael. Great is him who is over Ismael, and he shall make a neck of Mac Nackalon. And he did. A plouder remain again! For the clearer of the air from on high has spoken, in tumbledum tambledam to his tembledim tumbledoom world, and, MacGuffinized by that phenomenon, the inhabitants of the earth have terror-rumbled from firmament unto fundament, and from tweedledee-dums down to tweedledee-dees. Loud, hear us! Loud, graciously hear us. Now have thy children entered into their habitations. And nation-glad, camp meeting over, to Shinnet, Gov be thanked. Thou hast closed the portals of the habitations of thy children, and thou hast set thy guards thereby, even Garda Didymus and Garda Domus, that thy children may read in the book of the opening of the mind to light, and err not in the darkness, which is the afterthought of thy no matter, by the guardians of those guards, which are thy bodemen, the cheery boyum chiribot, with the kerry bombers in their crubbines, pray your prayers, Timothy, and back to bunk Tom. Till tree from tree, tree among trees, tree over tree, becomes stone to stone, stone between stones, stone under stone, forever. O loud, hear the wee beseech of each of these thy unlitten ones. grant sleep in hours' time, O loud. That they take no chill, that they do ming no murder, that they shall not go meet mad howye trees. Loud, heap miseries upon us, yet entwine our arts with laughters low. Ha, he, hi, ho, ho, mum, mum.